Welcome back. So, hope everybody had a good 4th of July. My 4th of July was mostly working, and more working. And speaking of that, I just got off of work from my typical 8 to 5 shift. And, now that I've got off working, it's time for me to do the review in terms of the free games, which, as I mentioned, I wasn't able to watch all three of these games because all three of these games were taking place when my shift during 4th of July was happening. So I did kind of had to watch the highlights after my shift is over and also this morning before I go to work to see what happened in terms of these games. And from what I've seen in terms of these free 4th of July game, well, there is one theme that I've seen. And that, of course, is missed opportunity. Because all these home teams should have won their game. All of them had big opportunity to beat their opponent, but unfortunately, they were just not doing very well in terms of their finishing. And we also saw one team that was so woeful in terms of their finishing, they turns out to not get anything out of their home game and actually drop all 3 points at home, but we'll get to that. But before we do that, let's talk about the first game, which is FC Dallas versus the Vancouver Whitecaps. And also, since there's only 3 games, I'm not going to do a timestamp in terms of this video. This video shouldn't take relatively long. But the first game we're going to talk about is FC Dallas versus the Vancouver Whitecaps. And as I mentioned, this is one of those 3 games where the home team should have win. And for Dallas, I really think this almost looked like it was a carbon copy of the RSL game. The only difference is FC Dallas did find themselves down 2-1 for the majority of the game, but they probably shouldn't be 2-1 down for the majority of the game because they were by far the better team for the majority of this one. Now, in the first half, 6 minutes into this game, Acosta did try to whip in a cross that was actually saved by Crepeau, and that was actually a decent save by Crepeau because, I don't think he realized that Brian Acosta was just going to try to whip that one in and hit toward goal, but it was nice heads-up play there from Crepeau to basically puts that one high. Before he would actually rob Nelson, not once, but twice in this sequence in the 11th minute. And Dallas definitely started out the better team and looked like they were going to get the first goal, and they indeed got the first goal. It's Ricardo Pepi that scored from Vieira and Acosta to make it 1-0 in favor of Dallas 22 minutes in. Ricardo Pepi, he just cannot stop scoring right now, and that transfer fee of him potentially rumored to go to Europe just gets even more higher with more goals that he has scored so far this season. But just 8 minutes later, Dallas lead would basically disappear because Vancouver would tie it up. And it's Cavallini that ties the game up at 1 apiece, but this was a big mistake from Brisson because this ball was coming in. I think he was trying to either clear that ball away or trying to intercept that cross, but he basically did neither. Gave it right to Cavallini, who basically puts it in there. And yeah, it was just an absolute gift that Dallas present the Whitecaps. And that give also kind of triggered some momentum shift because just 4 minutes later, Cavallini did have another chance for his second goal and give the Whitecaps a 2-1 lead, but he puts it high from 12 yards out. As I said, the momentum completely shifted to Vancouver up to that point. And then right at the stroke of halftime, it's Andy Rose scoring from Caicedo to make it 2-1 in favor of the Whitecaps. And unsurprisingly, this comes from a set piece and come from the corner because if there's one thing that the Whitecaps have done so well this season is that they have done very well in terms of set piece. I mean, they're basically kind of like the kings of set piece this season, scoring a lot of those this year. And yeah, Dallas just did not do a good job in terms of dealing that. And then now they find themselves down 2-1 heading into the second half. Now in the second half, Ricardo Pepi did try to get his second goal, but his deflected shot from 12 yards out goes wide. Before Crepeau robbed Holland's head during this play from short range, and Dallas was definitely pressing for the equalizer early. Acosta then tried to do something similar that he did in the first half, which is in a dangerous cross in, but once again Crepeau was able to tip that one over before Tatari puts it into the side netting as he was going through on goal. And Dallas, they will continue to push to try to get the late equalizer, but it's also, as the game kind of went on, you wonder, is this just going to be one of those games for them where they're not going to get the equalizer despite the fact that they were by far the better team? But in the 4th minute of stoppage time, they eventually did get an equalizer. And you know how Vancouver was very thankful that Dallas gave them a gift that that gave them the equalizer early on. Well, they decided to kind of repay the favor because Veselinovic unfortunately scored an own goal here, and there was actually two Whitecaps player that basically was trying to clear the ball away. It was Veselinovic and Rose that was trying to clear the ball away, but they kind of got into each other way, and basically when they tried to hit it, it flicked it into the wrong direction and basically puts it into its own net. So that has to be a very frustrating way to concede, and probably something that, Whitecaps fan, I know they're probably going to be heartbreak about this, but they're deep in their mind, they probably saying, yeah, we knew this was coming. We've seen this before with the Whitecaps, where it seems like it's too good to be true that they can hold on to a 2-1 lead, and yeah, unfortunately that of course happened. But late on into this game, Dallas, they were definitely not satisfied with just getting 1 point out of this game, because remember, they were by far the better team in this game. They want to get all 3 points. Kripo was able to deny Palmico, who went through on goal, but he wasn't able to put away from close range before Kripo denied Pepe literally at as the final whistle was about to blow, and really denied Dallas all 3 points in this game. And in the end, it ends in a 2-2 draw between both of these teams, as the shots in this game, 17 shots compared to the 5 that the Whitecaps had, 8 shots on goal compared to the 2 that the Whitecaps had, 2 shots off target compared to the 5 that Dallas had, 1 shot that was blocked compared to the 4 that Dallas had, and possession-wise, 58% possession compared to 42% possession that Vancouver has in this game. And again, Dallas, I really think, yes, they did get that late equalizer to salvage a point, but they has to be very frustrated that they didn't get all 3 points in this game, considered they pretty much dominate every category in the stats, but just kind of those lapses of concentration, which is not the first time we've seen them happen in this season, is the reason why they weren't able to get all 3 points in this game. And if you're the Whitecaps, I mean, I know they're going to be frustrated that they dropped 2 points late in the game by conceding an own goal, but they'll be happy at the fact that they even got a point out of this game, because, throughout this game, they were pretty much being dominated, and the only time when they really kind of were the better team was really the last 15 minutes of the first half. But now moving on, in terms of the next match, is the Rapids and the Sounders. And, for the Seattle Sounders, they have actually now tied for the longest unbeaten run to start the season. I believe the 2012 Galaxy were unbeaten up to this point of the season. But despite the fact that, the Sounders, they can definitely break the record for the longest unbeaten run heading into next week, there's definitely some cracks in the Sounders wall in these last couple of weeks, because, these last 6 games that the Sounders have, they only won 2 of those games. I mean, they had a lot of draws in terms of these games, and these draws aren't against teams that are actually good teams. I mean, they have actually draw against teams that you would think that they should able to easily beat. And, last week was a good example where I was kind of surprised. The fact that, at home against the Vancouver Whitecaps, they drew 2-2 in that game, and they had to rely on a late thunder strike from Madrona to be able to keep their unbeaten streak going. Now, in this case, they were trail in this game against the Rapids, and they are kind of should be thankful that the Rapids just kind of didn't have their shooting boots for a majority of this game. But early on in this first half, the Sounders actually had the first big opportunity, as the Post actually denied Ruidíaz and the Sounder an early goal in this one. But then, just 2 minutes later, Lewis did put one over from short range before Bassett did the same thing just 1 minute later. After a couple of half chances for both teams, chances kind of started to become premium, and there wasn't really much that was going on between minute 10 all the way up to minute 40. But in the 41st minute, the Sounders would take the lead right on the stroke of halftime. And it's Alex Rodon scoring what I hear here was actually his first ever career goal in MLS, which I was kind of surprised, because I thought for sure he had at least scored 1 goal before in his career. But, on the Rapids forecast, they said that was his first goal. So, yeah, congratulations to Alex Rodon scoring his first goal. And now, not only the fact that he has 1 goal to his name, but he also have 1 save to his name too. Like, how many times would you see in a season where a player not only can register a goal, but they also register and assist, and you're basically not a goalkeeper? But really, as great as this first goal for Alex wrote down, this was not a great goal to concede if you're the Colorado Rapids. I mean, first, it was a bad giveaway from Shinyashiki, and then it was some poor goalkeeping from William Yarbrough, where this one was just literally hit right toward him. Like, he needs to get that one away, and it wasn't even hit that powerful. And Yarbrough, I talked about how he had that incredible performance against Cincinnati, but ever since that performance, he has been very shaky in these last couple of games. And this was another one of those games where that one he's got to save that one. But nevertheless, the Sounders were up 1-0 heading into halftime, and the second half, Colorado immediately pushed early for an equalizer. Bassett hits one high from close range in the 52nd minute before the Rapids did get the equalizer. And it's Barrios scoring from Sam Vines and Austin Trusty to tie the game up at 1 apiece. I mean, the Rapids must be thanking Dallas this season by getting Barrios, because Barrios has been an instant impact to this Rapids team, and he has definitely been very dangerous and one of the more lethal goals scored for this Rapids team. Bassett then, a couple of minutes later, missed wide from close range. I thought Bassett had a decent game. He was a little bit unlucky with some of his chances that he missed. Then Cleveland did deny Vines in the near post in the 65th minute before Barrios tried to score the second goal for him in this game, and the second goal for the Rapids, but he hits the side netting. Colorado was definitely inching closer to get that go-ahead goal, but unfortunately they came no closer after that Barrios shot that hits the side netting, because for the last 15 minutes it was kind of similar to what we saw in the first half, where there was a long spell of period where there wasn't really a lot of chances, and it seems like the Sounders are pretty much just kind of shut things down and just hope to hold on to get a point out of this game, which they did exactly that, as they got a 1-1 draw out of this game against Colorado. And the shots in this one, 7 shots compared to 14 that the Rapids had. 1 shot on goal compared to 3 that Colorado has. 7 shots off target compared to 1 that Seattle has. Both teams had 4 shots out of block, and both teams had 50% possession. And overall, I think the Seattle Sounders will be the more happier side, because again, this isn't one of their best performance, but this is why the Sounders are considered to be an MLS Cup contender, because even when it's not their day and they might have one of the worst performances of the season, they still are able to get a point out of this game. But that being said, there is definitely starting to be cracks in terms of this team, and that even though this team hasn't been beaten this year, I won't be surprised if they keep putting some of these performances where they haven't been looking like the Seattle Sounders as we saw in the early part of the season. They are eventually going to be beaten. And if the Rapids were a little bit more clinical in this game, they could have easily beat the Sounders and become the first team this season to be able to hand the Sounders the first loss. And finally, we have no team left in MLS that has an unbeaten record. But now moving on into the last game on this board is the Galaxy and Sporting KC. So I said back in the preview that it's a shame the fact that we won't have a battle between two very talented Mexican striker in Chicharito and Pulido, because Pulido of course wasn't available for this game because he suffered an injury in the last game. Well, it turns out when this game was about to start, Chicharito was also not available because he unfortunately suffered a knock during warm-up. So yeah, that was kind of a little disappointing that we weren't going to see two of the best strikers facing off against each other. But that being said, that was a huge concern if you are a Galaxy fan, because we knew this season the Galaxy, really the main goal scoring threat that they have this season is Chicharito. I mean, if Chicharito is performing for this Galaxy team, this team will win games. But if he's not performing, or in this case he is not available in the starting 11, then their attack definitely suffer. And we saw throughout this game, they dearly miss Chicharito. And if Chicharito was in this game, I have no doubt the Galaxy could have won this game against Sporting KC. But in the first half, 4 minutes in, Vasquez did flick one high from short range before Melia was able to deny Granciera in the 7th minute. Melia was also another reason why the Galaxy would keep off the scoreline, as he had another one of those incredible games where he wasn't letting anything past his own net. The Galaxy did press early for the opener before Cabral had a free header in the 30th minute, but he unfortunately missed wide. Then in the 33rd minute, Zubak had probably the best chance for the Galaxy up to that point from point blank range, but Team Melia absolutely robbed him in terms of that. And then the very next play, Melia was able to deny Vasquez and Grenzier. And then on the follow up, that I think it was the shot from Grenzier. That one actually went through the legs of Melia, but unfortunately it goes wide. And really, that was the only time where Melia did kind of made a mistake throughout this game. But fortunately, it did not cost him there, as that shot actually went through wide. The Galaxy were all over SKC up to that point, but they just cannot find that killer finish. And also, this is when you really start to see that they dearly miss Chicharito in this game. Now, as we head to halftime, 0-0 between both of these teams, and heading into the second half, Bond did deny Shelton in the start of the second half, and that was really the first big chance that Sporting KC has had, but Jonathan Bond with a comfortable save to deny Shelton there. Then Zuzi had to clear a shot off the line as the Galaxy once again was threatening and pouncing the door for the first goal. Vasquez then pulls it wide from close range in the 61st minute before Leggett in the 66th minute missed wide off of a deflection. And I also kind of wrote, is this one of those days that the Galaxy are not going to be able to put the ball into the back net? And it's just also one of those days where nothing seems to be work for them, and they just have a hard time in terms of finding that killer finish. Well, in the 80th minute, Bond did deny Espinosa's header, and then there was probably one of the worst misses that we've seen this season, and this is something that we won't probably talk a lot about because later on, just 1 minute later, Johnny Russo was able to give Sporting KC the opening goal of this game and give SKC a 1-0 lead. But this miss, my oh my, Fontes was literally in the back post, completely unmarked there. All he has to do is basically hit that one into the empty net, and he basically hits the post on that. Like, that was some Romel Kyoto-esque kind of miss that I've seen in that. And I think, that Romel Kyoto miss I've talked about before, that is going to be something that's going to take a lot in terms of beating that as the worst miss of the season. This one comes close. I mean, if Fontes actually missed that wide, then I would say that's equally as bad as the Kyoto miss earlier this season. But, he did hit this one off the post. And, the reason why a lot of people won't talk about this is because, as I mentioned, Russo would eventually score the first goal for Sporting KC in the first goal of this game. And then SKC pretty much shut the door and called it a game in the 4th minute of stoppage time, as Shelton went through on goal and was able to keep his composure and slots it into the back of the net as he scored from Busio there to make it 2-0 for Sporting KC, and that would be the final score of this game. As the shots to this one, 18 shots compared to 12 that Sporting KC had, 7 shots on goal compared to 6 that Sporting KC had, 9 shots off target compared to 4 that Sporting KC had. Both teams had 2 shots that was blocked, and in terms of the possession, the Galaxy had the better of the possession, 54% possession compared to 46% possession that Sporting KC had. And again, this is just kind of one of those games where the team that won the game was more clinical in terms of their finishing, and even though SKC didn't really wake up until the last 10 minutes of this game, they took their chances when it came. And for the Galaxy, for the majority of the first 80 minutes when they were the better team, they just weren't able to find that killer finish. And a lot of that has to do with Chicharito not being in this team, and because of that, they drop all 3 points in this game, and they're just going to have to move on into the next game and hope that Chicharito is going to recover in time, because we actually have some midweek game action that is going to be happening in a couple of days. And by the way, after when I finish the review of this video, I of course will be doing the preview in terms of some of these midweek games that is going to happen in a couple of days. But yeah, there you have it. That is pretty much it in terms of the review of these 4th of July game. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think of all 3 of these games? And yeah, hope you guys enjoy this video, and I will see you guys next time.